Let me know if we're live. 3, 2, 1, and we are live. Wow, everybody, we just took a look at the behind the scenes of Nick Cahill's project, filming Tom Tang on Pike's Peak, sponsored by OWC, Atlas Lens Co. and iBox Springs. And everybody give a warm welcome to Nick Cahill and Britton Sear, who are going to be interviewing him. And everyone on the chat live, if you have questions, send your questions through. We'll do our best to relay them after Britton's interview with Nick. All right, thank you. And here we go.
Well, thanks so much for being here with us today, Nick.
It's an honor. Thank you.
Really incredible work we just saw. Can you start off just by telling us a little bit about yourself, how you got into making films, and how you got here in this room with us today?
It's a bit of a long story, but I'm a car guy at heart. Out of high school, I was building a race car, working 2 jobs, realized that it's really expensive to run a race car, and decided I needed to go to college. I was working at the Apple store, and I was working as a lifeguard at the time. And I started building the car, and eventually, picked up a camera to take pictures of it. This is kind of before YouTube was a thing. It was kind of before social media was a thing. But those of you who were into the internet at that time, this was like internet forum days. So, I was on there, and that's like how you shared things. That's how you learned things. It's how I learned how to change oil, stuff like that. So I picked up a camera then because a friend of mine was kind of not coming around very often. And I kind of got attracted to taking photos. Decided I had to go to college in order to afford to run this race car that I built, which I still own, but I haven't really been able to run it yet. And went to college and kind of snowballed its way into what you guys saw today.
Did you meet the protagonist in your film here through that enthusiasm for cars and these forums?
Yeah, I met Tom probably like 15 or so years ago through cars. Yeah, he was actually the first person to hire me for like an automotive thing. He used to run an automotive blog called Tuner Playground. And he hired me to film this thing that like Ken Block was doing, actually kind of in this region. It was before Gymkhana was Gymkhana. And he was like in his rally time, and before he was doing like his stunt driving. He was just into racing at that time.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so I met him, I filmed that, and then like you guys heard in the BTS, like we have kind of like grown together.
Could you tell us all a little bit the title of this project we just saw and a little synopsis for the people watching at home?
I forget the exact working title that Tom ended up picking, but it's on Pike's Peak. For those of you who don't know, there's only about 70 drivers that get accepted to even race up Pike's Peak. So it's pretty awesome to be selected. They base it on a variety of criteria, like your driving experience. I'm not exactly sure what they do, but a lot of stuff. Remind me of the question. I kind of got lost there.
I was just saying if you could give us a synopsis a bit about what we just saw for the people at home.
Cool. Yeah.
What this film is about.
So the film for me is about like a culmination of wearing many hats. I'm a filmmaker, but have I like produced a film of this level? Have I managed outside editors? Things like that. I hadn't. So this was like a big thing for me. And then for Tom, it was kind of the same thing, which sort of parallels our careers, his racing career and my film career together. So it's like the culmination of his driving, and it's the culmination of like me being behind the camera. And it's a really good pairing of me with my passion and with the career at the same time being automotive stuff.
Yeah, wow. So how did he? So you see this as your stories is similar because this is the culmination of everything he's worked for, and the same for you.
Absolutely.
How did you find Atlas Lens Company? How did you choose to shoot on our lenses?
So there's 2 people that are my friends and also sort of mentors in the filmmaking space in Lake Tahoe, which is where I live. They each have like a half set of the Orions. So I first learned about the lenses then. They had it, and I was like, what the heck is an anamorphic lens? I had never heard of it. I had never seen of them, anything like that. I got some hands on there, and then Brian, the person who shot the BTS, introduced me to OWC. John is here, and Roscoe. And when I met them a year ago, I went and shot the Baja 1000, and he was like, oh, maybe you guys want to like talk to our friends at Atlas and shoot. They just came out with the Mercuries. Mm-hmm. So they lent me a set on demo, and I got them probably dirtier than a majority of the demos I return here. And yeah, so then when this project came up, I was like, hey, like that last thing was pretty cool. I thought it was cool. You know, do you think they'd be interested in it again? Like, here's my idea with this Pike Peak film. And then they, you know, kind of relit the candle for us. And Dan and the entire crew at Atlas was obviously open-minded enough to lend them to me.
Beautiful. How do you think that the anamorphic lenses and the qualities of anamorphic lenses serve the stories you tell, and why do you choose anamorphic?
This one it's a bit of a challenge because, I mean, it's a really, anamorphic lenses for this particular thing that I was shooting is kind of hard, right? You've got a race car coming at you from a mile away doing 100, and I don't have an AC pulling focus for me. So, like, you know, I'm standing on the side of a hill, it's 13,000 feet, I'm racking focus, like, you know, all the way around as it's coming. So, you know, I think if anything, it made it more challenging for me to use these lenses. But if you look at Pike's Peak and the stuff on the internet, it's hard to shoot something that has been shot for, you know, I think it's like 102 years it's been running.
Yeah.
How do you shoot that differently, you know? And when we talked about it, I was like, oh, you know, like, people aren't really shooting it on this glass, and the glass is interesting to me, you know, like, I think we should give this a shot even though it's hard.
Yeah, totally. I think it also really serves the landscapes well. I mean, it's such a scenic environment. The wide field of view really just makes it so beautiful.
Yeah, I'm a fan. Anything with the lens flares too. It's like, you know, I think that's probably why we're all in this room right now. We all like it, right? It's interesting. They're cool.
Yeah.
They're heavy though.
Totally. We saw these behind the scenes of you hiking up these mountains. So they close off these roads and you have no transportation, right? You have to walk the entire day. Or how does that work when they close off the roads?
Yeah, so to kind of explain it all to you, so that each driver, they split the mountain up into 3 sections, right? And you start the morning, I think the gates open at like 4:30 in the morning at the very base. You drive up, and the driver's team gets either the bottom section, the middle section, or the upper section for the day. And there's 4 different days that you get to run. So we started on the top section. So there's like, I don't know, 20, 25 cars. They split the entire field of drivers up into 3, right? So you just run the top section a couple times, and then the next day you come back and you run just the middle section a couple times, and then just the bottom, not necessarily in that order. So as a filmmaker or a photographer, anyone on the media team, you go up before the teams go, you park in designated parking areas, and then you're not allowed to move your car until the entire thing's done at like 8, something like that. So you park, you walk with all your gear, in this case, 2 not so light lenses, a not light tripod, and you're at 13,000-ish feet at the top, right? The very top is 14.
Yeah.
And I think the base is like 8 or 9. So yeah, you park and you walk. So the cars run once, and then when they all get to the top of their section, they turn around, come down, and then they do it again. So you get one shot of your guy driving by, and then they make it to the top, and you have 15, 20 minutes to go find another shot.
So how many times in total does that mean you get a chance at seeing your guy?
It depends if the car doesn't break.
Yeah, a lot of factors. Huh?
Yeah, a lot of factors. I mean, you can get like 3 to 5 times depending on like if all the cars go per day. But it also depends on your fitness level. If you're able to move 3 to 5 different locations, or if you're shooting the same turn because maybe you can't.
Do you ever run into other people in your shot? I mean, the other media teams. I mean, you're all these people sort of aiming the same way. So do you ever run into that problem?
I mean, it's certainly part of it, right?
Yeah.
But we're all there trying to do the same thing. So you're kind of communicating with whoever you might be around. It's like I know that my guy's 3 guys behind this person or whatever because we have radios. Mm-hmm. So like I'll know what my shot is, and then maybe like the person before him will go, and I'll like run out to my spot. So like I'm not in other people's ways, and everyone's kind of
a lot of coordination.
A lot of coordination and just like mutual respect for the most part.
So the whole course of this production, from pre-production to now, how long was that process, or to the finish?
I mean, this particular, probably about a year, because this was my second time on Pike's Peak, and I knew that Tom the driver wanted to do it. So the year prior, I had asked him, hey, do you have any contacts? Like maybe I should go there and check it out and film it, or even just go and see, so I can like wrap my head around like how this all works logistically. The logistics is probably equally, if not more hard than just like shooting it.
Yeah.
Hitting record and pulling focus is probably the easiest part of the entire thing, right?
Yeah.
Even though it's not. I'm not to discredit what everybody does, but all of the logistics are pretty tough. So I would say a year, but then we really started making plans in like last January, so like a solid 8 months, you know, from it, and
Wow.
yeah, solid 8 months.
And you told me earlier the actual production crew was the two of you, and your Austin, correct? Your colleague.
Yeah, Austin and I were the two people filming the main piece, and then the BTS was filmed by our mutual friend Brian Walker, who connected me with OWC, which is like why this all happened.
So you two were making the film, and you had a filmmaker making a film about you.
It's like a filmception.
Yeah, filmception.
I don't know, like probably most of you in this room, I like to see the behind the scenes, like quite a bit, you know. I'm like, well, how do they do that? Because that's something I want to do, and how can I learn a little breadcrumb from what these other people are doing? So it was cool. It was a little weird to have like somebody, you know, constantly, and like he had to talk to the camera and stuff, which is odd, you know, when your job is to be behind the camera. It's a little weird to be now in front of it.
Yeah. What was the biggest mistake you made during this production? What is something you learned? What is a challenge you overcame?
Biggest mistake. I'm not sure. I mean, there was a lot of learning lessons, but I'm not sure we made any like big mistakes. I think like the biggest learning lesson would be to be dialed. Like I wish we had an editor on site to be ingesting all of our stuff, because even though we had the fastest drives and the fastest cards on the planet, I mean, we've got 2 big cameras with a lot of shots on it. We've got like 4 or 5 GoPros, 5 microphones on each, you know, crew member, things like that. Like coming home and doing the DIT session was still a long time.
Yeah.
And then after you do that, it's like you got to recharge all your gear, and then you got to open it all up, because it's obviously a mess when you threw it all back in your bag. So you got to like reorganize it all, and then you got to go to bed early. So I would just say like having more hands on deck would probably be the room for improvement.
Have you ever had a GoPro destroy and you're like, man, I wish I had that, like that lost the angle. Like you knew something great was on that GoPro, but like, have you ever had any GoPro drama?
I absolutely have, yeah. Thankfully, they're the cheapest cameras to lose.
Yeah. Totally. What are you most proud of this film, Nick?
I'm most proud of Austin and I, because this is like I think I maybe mentioned it earlier, like wearing a lot of hats. You know, I live in Lake Tahoe, and I don't have a community of people like this to be able to come and do every Wednesday and like talk shop. So I've like done DIT on some projects. I've like done camera operating. I've done some directing. I've done some producing. So for me to like really put it all together as like a culmination of my like career, that's probably what I'm most proud of. And in January, when I was talking to Tom, I was like, okay, I want to release it, you know, on this day, which was it was either 6 or 8 weeks after the race, and we released it exactly that day. So to be able to do that, you know, 8 months prior and like actually keep the date, which, you know, that's hard to do. You know, I'm pretty proud of that too.
It's beautiful. It's a culmination of everything you worked for. It's also really nice. It's special to see you have all these car brands associated too. So you have all these automotive brands as well as filmmaking brands. Sort of like all your passions are coming together with the support of the companies you've connected with. You can really see that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the car brands all support Tom, the car driver.
I see.
But they funded the project, you know. So they help him race, and in exchange for them helping him race, you know, we've provided them with something that hopefully stands out from everybody else who's up there with cameras. What about you? What do you like to do?
I like to make films as well. It's very inspiring to see this and to see that you see this as the culmination and everything you work towards. And you know, it's interesting. You say you have these different pockets of interest that all sort of feed filmmaking. I connect with that heavily. Well, it's a really beautiful piece of work you did, Nick, and I really appreciate you being here with us today.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys having me.
Thanks so much.
Are we answering questions from the crowd
Do you have any questions out there?
or on the internet? Yeah, come on up. Or do you? However, I don't know how this works. I'm new here.
We'll have the questions come here.
Hey man, I really appreciate the film. I really love the film, especially the sound design, like incorporation of all the car noise and all that. It's like I'm a sound guy myself, so I really want to know like what's the process of sourcing those audios. Like, did you have a special like couple of runs that you mic up the whole car to capture some audio, or like how much of the in-camera audio that you incorporated? And also, I know like there's a bunch of GoPros, so how much of those kind of gone into the final mix and stuff like that?
So we hired a sound guy specifically to run through it. Austin, the other DP, is really good friends with Kip Smedley. Kip did the sound for Ted Lasso, so he's as good as it gets, in my opinion, and is as close to somebody of that level that I could get to through Austin. So I don't know the answer fully. However, after looking at the timeline and everything like that, it's a lot of it is like donated from the onboard mics, and then he went in and adjusted it, things like that. There's a few moments that didn't come into existence until he laid his hands on the project, like right when the whole build-up scene to the race day. There's this like really nice, beautiful build sound, and then it cuts, and you hear the flags wave, and then he goes. And it was cool because I hadn't seen, like, working through this process with him, I didn't like really feel that kind of build up and release until he did it. And then after he did that, I was like, hey, we need to hear it like slam into first gear because the transmission has like such a sound. And so he pulled the sound from a GoPro and then like, I don't know, did his magic on it and then like re-put it in.
Oh, that's super sweet. Yeah, the mix definitely stood out to me for sure. So yeah, thank you for that.
Yeah, of course. And I think it changed it for me, right? You know, it made it like, it took it from what I thought was cool and it just made it like way better. So I have major respect for people who use their ears more than their eyes.
Thank you.
Do we have any more questions out there?
Also, thanks to Roscoe for editing the BTS. And Atlas for letting us use your lenses. I mean, we're taking them into some kind of not so friendly environments, and OWC obviously for supporting us. It's cool. What you got, Dan?
Very moving and dynamic work, seeing the way you were able to track Tom in such a harsh environment. And I'm curious if in the future, if you were able to go back to that location, if you would try doing some arm car work on that Pikes Peak, or like, have you seen anyone do arm car work on that? Because it seems dangerous, to be honest, to use an arm car on such a hostile road. But also that would be pretty cool.
I would love to. The only thing really that's keeping us from doing that is really budget. During race week, so the race day is the only day that the road is physically closed to the public. Otherwise, the road opens at 9 a.m. and your everyday Joe can go pay their 10 or 15 bucks and drive all the way to the top and back, which is kind of a cool full circle thing of, like, there's not a lot of racetracks you can go drive for 15 bucks, and anybody can do it, which comes with its dangers. However, so it comes to, in order to run an armed car or really have any amount of time other than the one time they rip by, you have to rent the track out. And to rent the track out is like $50,000 a day. So the people that do that are Ford. Hyundai did it this year. And so that would really be the only bottleneck. Otherwise, yeah, I would love to facilitate that. Another interesting thing is you can only fly drones during that time. So the shots that you saw that appeared to be drones were actually a helicopter. And Pikes Peak offers drivers to purchase like their helicopter package of, however many shots that the heli gets when they run.
That's got to be a great business to have a helicopter business up there.
I imagine they do well. Something that I think would be cool though, which I wanted to do and I just didn't really have the time, would be to like mount the 18 in the corner of the car and like have it hard mounted. I think that would be really cool. I don't have a ton of like car rigging experience, and I'm like, it's the like world's largest or world's widest lens. It's like, Brandon, I don't think I should like be rigging this not so cheap lens in here and it maybe fail.
I think we got to go back next year and go even harder. What do you think?
Well, the good news is Tom is going back next year, so yeah, let's do it.
Okay, I'm gonna get a mini bus. I'll race my bus against Tom's M3.
What kind of bus do you have? I have a bus.
I don't have a bus yet. I'm thinking about getting one, so. I think we should go VW Synchro, but put a Subaru motor in it.
There you go. Yeah, I'm about it.
All right, cool. Any other questions inspired from the audience here today? I know we have some automotive folks in the crowd today. Go ahead, Aldous, come on down.
Is it ever like Fast and Furious where the racers like fight? Or they're like, "Oh, your car sucks. This is a hack mobile." No,
It's exactly the opposite of that.
that's no fun.
Everybody becomes like
Family, they're family, bro.
Oh, that's sick.
everybody becomes family, right? Because each team can only bring their own trailer, so it doesn't. Even if you're the Ford team and you're spending $50,000 a day to rent it for a week leading up, you still only get to bring so much space. It's because of parking. So like, if you forgot a tool or a whatever, like most likely the person parked next to you or across from you has it hopefully and is like willing to do anything to help you with it. So it's
that's
really more
nice.
like a tight knit family of the people that are up there because it's so hard to get there and they all recognize that.
Oh, that's wholesome. Okay, I thought it'd be like pink slip races.
I do love myself some Fast and Furious though.
That's sick. All right, thank you.
What is top tier dining on the hill?
There's some breakfast burritos and some overpriced coffee, but I'm not sure I'd call it top tier. And then at the very top, there's donuts, which is like, it's a big thing for the racers to like get to the top without breaking or anything, and then acquire the donut.
It kind of like makes me think of, I've been skiing in like, I'm not a big skier, but I've been to Aspen, and then I'm up there and it's like very cold, and then halfway down the mountain there was some pancakes that were like oatmeal pancakes, which doesn't sound good on paper, but when you're freezing and you get these pancakes and they're like kind of crispy, like a little bit of texture, some butter, some cinnamon, next level. So they should have a food truck race. Maybe we should like food truck race to the top and then dining.
I mean, it's pretty dangerous. Like, there's huge cliffs. If you guys can look up on your own time, there's one of the turns is called Evo Corner. It's the same turn where if any of you have seen the Ken Block climb kana, where he drifts and his tires go off on the dirt. Evo Corner, the car rolled like 13 times. It's pretty dangerous.
I need like an inflatable vest to save me if I'm going to do something like that.
Like
so
an
have to look
avalanche airbag,
Yeah, I need an airbag system. So, all right. Well, thank you so much for coming in today. Thank you to OWC. Thank you, Britton, for the great questions, and thank you, audience, for coming down. If there's no other questions, let's convene. Let's have a fun time. And every Wednesday we do this. It's not always as cool as having Nick and everyone down here that we have today, but it is fun and it's a community event. So come on down, have fun, and don't forget to get some free coffee. We do have a question coming in from Lily. Jessica says, if you could offer advice for someone filming a race like this, Jessica asks, what advice would you give them?
It's funny because Jessica's my girlfriend. Thanks, Jess. This is a good question. I've actually asked this question or a similar question in different experiences like this. I mean, I guess my advice to somebody looking to film a race like this is to really immerse yourself in whatever it is that you're trying to film, whether it's a race, mountaineering, skydiving, whatever it is. Know it. Be a part of it. Be a part of that community, because then the stories come out organically. And that, I think, for me at least, is pulling those stories out is like kind of the hardest part. Filming the action for me is something that I think I am skilled at, and pulling the stories isn't. So immersing yourself into whatever it is would be my advice. And that kind of goes for any realm of filmmaking, not just this one.
I was going to say that's top tier filmmaking advice in general. I mean, I remember hearing something similar from Gareth Edwards when we did a screening of The Creator at Art Center College back in February. And his description of the way that he approaches framing a shot is to immerse himself in the shot as if he's living the movie and being in the moment. So, you could say that filmmaking can be a very zen art. If you let it be, you become part of the picture, you become part of the community, and you become part of the storytelling, and the world will tell you what's right. So I love that. That's very heartwarming to hear.
And for me, I need to not rush the process. I can get to a spot like in Pikes, for example, and be like, oh, this is a shot. I've seen this before, but then it takes 20, 30 minutes for me to have shot that out to find something that I actually truly find to be unique. So I need to remind myself to not try and be fast in the process, but to just really be a part of it.
That's got to be tough too. If he's going to be passing you at a certain point at a certain speed going up that hill, there's it's a combination, just like in any kind of filmmaking, there's a combination of the three triangles: commerce, business, where like time clock, money, artistry, you know, making something beautiful that we can believe in and touches our spirit and our soul, and then technology, you know, the tools that we use to help make these great pieces of art, and then hopefully walk home with a little bit of money in our pocket to get the Wheaties, get those pancakes on the mountain. So, you know, that's what it's all about.
You said they're oatmeal pancakes?
Yes, yes.
I'm going to have to pick your
Highly
brain about that
recommended.
later.
We'll offline.
Thanks for having me, Dan. And I think OWC might be having a discount code for anyone that's interested in the fastest drives that you can step on.
Since our Atlas cards, our cards are called Atlas, and Atlas Lens Company is Atlas as well. You can put it together. Shot on Atlas, 15% off on cards and readers.
15% off cards and readers.
That's
Shot on Atlas. Any spaces or anything weird, just shot on Atlas. That's it.
Atlas Lens Co. World of Cinematography in your hands. See you next Wednesday. See you on Telecast Tuesday. Every Tuesday we do a live stream. And thank you all for joining us today. It's been great having you, Nick. And thank you, OWC folks, for...
Thank you, Dan. Thank you, Britton. Appreciate it. Thanks, everybody.